Welcome to the February episode of County Connection, where we talk about events, programs, and services offered by Summit County government. I'm your host, Julie Suter. We have a great show lined up for you this month. We're going to be talking about new Recpath uses in the summer and winter, and we'll also be talking about some new wildfire protection amendments in Summit County regulations. For our first segment of this February episode, we are going to be talking about a new winter use on the Summit County Recpath system. And here to tell us all about it are Katie Barton from the town of Frisco. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
Michael Wurzel from Summit County Open Space and Trails. Welcome, Michael.
Glad to be here.
And Scott Reed from town of Breckenridge Open Space and Recreation. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, so there is a new winter recreation opportunity that's being unveiled this month on the Summit County Recreational Pathway System. So tell us what's going on. Michael?
Well, it has been long envisioned to have a connection from the Gold Run Nordic Center and the town of Breckenridge to the Frisco Nordic Center along the Recpath. And when the highway was getting realigned from the old alignment to the new alignment, we looked into making this a reality and working with these partners to do that.
Okay, great. So as Michael mentioned, the idea of having this winter connection along the Recpath has been something that people have talked about for years. Scott, can you tell us a little bit about of the history and all of the kind of ducks that had to be lined up for this to finally materialize?
Well, you have three different jurisdictions. Well, I should even say four. You've got the town of Breckenridge, you've got the town of Frisco, Summit County has their jurisdiction, and the U.S. Forest Service. So the Forest Service, for much of the Recpath that the county manages, the Forest Service provides the permission for the county to do that. And so they needed to change their operation plan to allow for grooming during the winter of the Recpath. And so yes, it was all four entities that, the Forest Service gave the county permission, and the county asked the towns to come together in a partnership to find a way to make the connections happen. And that's what happened this year.
Okay. And so Scott, can you talk a little bit more about kind of how the Forest Service designates particular uses and areas and why it took a little bit of paperwork for this to come to a reality?
Well, the Forest Service needs to go through its NEPA process, which is the National Environmental Policy Act, and it basically has to analyze any kind of impacts that would occur from a particular action on the national forest. So in this situation, you've got a paved Recpath on the national forest that the county manages. And so in order for the county to have the permission to do the grooming, that allow us to do the grooming, the Forest Service had to evaluate whether it was going to impact water quality or archaeological sites or wildlife or a variety of other issues that they need to be concerned with their it's directed by the Congress for them. So that took a while, and certainly it took some effort on the county's behalf to really get that whole process going. And as Michael mentioned, it was very much started when the change of the highway was envisioned and completed, and so it allowed for the sort of the reanalyzation of what we're going to figure how we're going to do this. It would really make it happen as far as grooming.
Okay.
In this particular NEPA process, one thing that the U.S. Forest Service looked at was lynx habitat, and they have a policy for not allowing any more snow compaction. So the county actually had to show where acquisitions to our open space program would allow certain ways not to be paved or compacted, which then allowed us to offset the snow that was going to be groomed on this section.
Okay, excellent. Grooming just began at the very end of January, and Katie, can you talk a little bit about what this will look like in practice throughout the winter season?
Yeah, so we're going to be grooming Tuesdays and Fridays. The Gold Run Nordic Center will be grooming from Tiger Run Road to the first bridge just past the high school. The Frisco Nordic Center will be grooming from the Frisco Nordic Center to that bridge on the other side. We'll be grooming, like I said, twice a week, and there'll be tracks laid. It will be a multi-use, fat bikes, dogs, snowshoers, skiers of variety. And I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of our local people to get out and see a different trail and a different perspective.
Okay, great. And then, so for people who may not be familiar with the type of grooming and the tracks at a Nordic center, can you kind of explain what that will look like and why it is the way it is?
So we'll have your standard grooming like you'd see on a ski resort, corduroy, and then off to the side we'll have tracks, which would be your classic tracks. They're about a 4-inch deep set track in the snow that you would primarily use for classic cross-country skiing.
Okay, fantastic. And have you heard reactions yet from your folks out there at the Frisco Nordic Center?
I think people are very much enjoying it. We had a few people come in today and talk to us about it, and they're really much enjoying it. I think the opportunity to be able to skate ski or classic ski with your dog is a real excitement for a lot of people.
Okay. So Katie mentioned the various uses. So let's talk about all the uses that are permitted during the winter season. Either Michael or Scott?
Well, as Katie mentioned, just it's a multi-use path, so maybe we could start with the uses that aren't allowed, which is snowmobiling or any motorized use of any kind. And then some of the uses that are allowed are snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, walking or hiking with your pet. Are there any that I'm forgetting? Fat biking.
Or biking in general, if you can get a regular bike on there too, that's okay.
I've heard a few people being excited about the opportunity to ski jerk with their dogs because there's not a lot of locations you can do that. So I've heard a few people excited about that as well.
Okay, great.
And I would add, last year we tried with the town of Breckenridge, we groomed from Gold Run Nordic Center to town, to essentially the rec center and Valley Brook Road. And that was wildly successful. We had a lot of people out there doing exactly that, doing ski joring, trying out Nordic skiing without having to necessarily go to a Nordic center and try it out, just going out and pushing a sled with their kids, that kind of stuff. So it was very popular. So by connecting these together, as you know, we'll basically connect from the town of Breckenridge, from our rec center, all the way to the Frisco Nordic Center with a stop along the way to Gold Run. So we really feel like it's a great way to connect the two communities through a non-motorized recreational amenity.
Awesome. And what would be the approximate mileage of that full range of groomed trail at this point?
I'm going to estimate it around 8 miles.
Yeah, I would say about 8 miles.
Great. So a pretty great new opportunity for outdoor adventure in Summit County.
I think it's a great opportunity, and the one thing is it operates like a Recpath in the sense that you don't need to have a pass to do it. And so people can try some new activities without that heavy cost that goes with it.
Okay, great. So one last thing that maybe we should touch on is with multiple uses and a little more kind of flexibility than we typically see in a Nordic center. We want to talk about etiquette. So what are some tips and guidelines in terms of making sure that the Recpath experience in winter is enjoyable for everyone?
I would say, with the tracks being set for classic skiing, if you are not classic skiing, please stay out of those tracks. And similar, as a road with the traffic, right, left, passing, letting people know when you're there. If you're on a bike, same etiquette if you were on a bike as well.
So. Okay. Any other tips?
I would forewarn folks that there are road crossings. So, Tiger Road, for example, if you're coming from Breckenridge and you're heading towards Frisco, you're going to have to take your skis off a couple spots if you value your skis and walk across paved roads into the Breck Building Center or across Tiger Road. So there are a few road crossings there. But as far as etiquette, it's share the trail just like we do it during the summertime, which is, as you said, let people know when you're passing, communicate. Dogs in the county need to be on leash or within 10 feet, and as I understand it, so you need to either have them on leash or in voice control within 10 feet. And just making sure that you're understanding that everyone's out there to have a good time, and I'm sure the interactions will be great.
And then one other thing to note about this particular path is the grooming is supposed to happen in daylight hours between dawn and dusk for wildlife concerns. So if you do run into a snowcat or grooming machine, you should be aware that they could be out there and just move aside, let them pass through, and then you can go on recreating.
Okay. And then certainly for anyone who's bringing their furry friends out there, we want to make sure everyone's cleaning up after their pet.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
That is the law in Summit County and within the town of Breckenridge as well.
Yeah, same with Frisco.
Okay, great. We don't want some ugly surprises come springtime. All right. Anything else that anyone has to add about this exciting new service?
I would add it's free of charge to people who want to use it. In the town of Breckenridge side of things, the open space program is actually paying for the grooming for the Recpath and a few other locations that we are trying to groom for fat bike use or other kinds of use that aren't paid. So we've got the Flumes trails, Wellington Trail, and a few other sort of narrower pulling with a snowmobile behind, a tow behind implement. Same thing, the Open Space and Trails program is funding that grooming effort, but it's free of charge to the public and they show up.
Fantastic.
And then the only thing I think I would offer is for the Frisco Nordic Center, please be respectful of, there are some shared uses that are paid for and free uses that the Nordic, the groomed path uses. So just be respectful of those signs and the other users that may be out there, because then once you're beyond those points, then you're free to recreate how you would like.
All right, great. Well, Katie, Michael, and Scott, thanks so much for coming in and sharing this fun news with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to shift gears and talk about some summer uses on the Recpath.